Welcome to a pod somewhere in time. I'm your host, John, and I'm here with my co-host, Matthias. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the Iron Maiden album Virtual 11. But before we do that, I'm going to give you some quick little bullet points on the history around this album, and also let you know that we also post the video for this. You may be listening to the audio podcast. You can go to Lair the Alchemist on YouTube, and we post a video for this. And I encourage people to do that because throughout the episode, Matthias will be showing album covers and singles and various things from his vast collection of Iron Maiden memorabilia. All right, so let's jump into the album, Virtual 11. It's the 11th studio album. It was writing began in early 1997. The album was released March 23rd, 1998. It's produced by Steve Harris and Nigel Green at Steve's Barnyard Studio. It's the last album with Blaze Bayley on vocals. The cover was created by Melvin Grant, who was asked to create a virtual reality feel. Melvin also worked on some fighting fantasy game books. B-sides from the album would only feature live numbers, but a new song, Virus, appeared on Maiden's first compilation album, Best of the Beast, released on September 23rd, 1996. Also of note around this time, on May 17th, 1999, Maiden would release the Ed Hunter video game and compilation album. Warm-up gigs for the tour were in Norwich, UK. The first official gig was Lille, France, April 26, 1998. 94 shows were scheduled, but only 83 played as some were canceled due to Blaze having voice problems. Special guests on the tour would include Halloween, Dio, Gamma Ray, and Dirty Deeds. The average set on this tour featured almost all the songs from the album: Future Real, The Angel and the Gambler, Lightning Strikes Twice, The Klansman, When Two Worlds Collide, The Educated Fool, and Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger made a few brief appearances. All right, Matthias, the last album of the Blaze Bayley era, Virtual 11. What are your
Mhm.
memories and thoughts on this one? What'd you think of it back then? What do you think of it now?
Uh, Again, like I've said, most of the 90s, as we've been going through the discography, this was again another album I didn't love, but I liked it. And back then, I liked it better than the X Factor from the start off. This album is by many viewed as the very worst Iron Maiden album, even worse than the aforementioned X Factor, of course. But to me, I think this album is better than the X Factor, and that is because just a few very simple reasons. I think it's better because the actual album is a bit shorter. It's not as many songs. The very songs themselves are more upbeat. They're not as morose, and the X Factor is uh, a bit of a downer, coming to subjects of lyrics and the very music itself. I think Blaze is better on this album. I think the guitars are more prominent, which means that the overall mix and impression of the songs is a bit more punch. There's a bit more punch to it. Um, so I liked it. I thought it was a step forward from the X Factor. I don't think that my feelings for the album have changed that much actually since then. It's not an album that is on heavy rotation. It's never been. But then again, as we go through the songs, there are a few songs that I actually enjoy very much on this album. And I think there are at least two hidden gems, I would say. But more on that a bit later. For me personally, 1998, I was a bit into my 20s. There was this fan club convention again in London in 98, and me and a friend went to that one, meeting members, to get things signed, listening to the album, just hanging around, meeting fellow Maiden fans from all over the world. and that, I mean, that was great. This was around the time when they played the Brixton Academy gig, which was in May of '98. Before that, they did something which was a bit weird. They, as a promotion tour of Europe, they did a few stops playing football against like celebrity games or teams with journalists. And Stockholm was one of the places where they made one of these stops. Um, so we managed to get tickets for this show, which was handed out like in competitions or so. I can't actually remember today how we managed to get the ticket, but it was quite it was very hard to get into that because this was like a small indoors arena. It wasn't in a like a big football stadium. It was an indoors arena where they played like a few music celebrities and a few more well-known footballers from Sweden. And our Maiden won. There were like press there, of course, because this was a part of the press tour. So that was a dear and fond memory for me personally. And of course, I went to the gig in Stockholm later in September, and that was also quite special actually, because when we talk about the '90s as a down period for metal and hard rock, and for Maiden as well, of course, uh, it's easy to forget that the Blaze era sort of gets like that's one piece. The Blaze era was small venues in Europe and even more so in the States, of course. But it seems to be forgotten that already in '98, with Blaze singing for our Maiden, they played like the second largest at the time indoor arena in Sweden, in Stockholm, and that was sold out. That was, I think, the maximum capacity at the Hovet is about 9,000 attendants. And I even remember that there was this interview with Dave Murray after the tour, and the interview asked David if he had like a favorite gig on the tour, and he actually said that the Stockholm gig was one of his favorite gigs on the album on the tour, of course, because it felt like a bit in the '80s. He said, and I thought it was good. So at least in Sweden, in September of '98 or during '98, the tide was sort of turning already. So when Bruce came back a year later, that wasn't like the thing that made it happen. It was already happening, at least in Sweden, and at least at that gig in Stockholm. But yeah, so a lot of fond memories from that time period for me personally, because there was fun things happening. But the very album itself, my view on it over the years hasn't really changed that much. But we'll get into that when we start to talk about the very songs, of course. But yeah, how about you? Were you back into metal again, John, in '98?
I was, but I wasn't following Iron Maiden. And as I mentioned with the X Factor, I didn't get the X Factor till after Brave New World came out, and I started kind of going back and listening to those records that I had missed. Virtual 11 has to be the Iron Maiden album that I know the least about. And part of it is I'm not even sure I ever bought this on CD. I think I may have only listened to this when I got on streaming or when I don't remember if YouTube was happening before. I think it was YouTube was happening before streaming or maybe right around the
Yeah,
same time.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, because I didn't like the X Factor. Uh, it, so I can't remember when I really heard this album. And when I did, unfortunately, my two least favorite songs on this record are early in the record. And I think that that turned me off. And I was just kind of like, oh, here we go. I don't have the patience for this. And I sort of never listened to it that much. But over the last so many years, I've revisited this record. And like I said, it's this whole era of the band I don't know much about outside of what I've read from books by like Martin Popoff and stuff like that. Uh, so when you said that most people think that this is Iron Maiden's worst record or it's worse than the X Factor, I was surprised when you said that because I think that this is much better than the X Factor.
Mm.
I actually think it's a pretty decent record.
Yeah.
I actually think that if this record had came out, most of the issues that I have with the X Factor, the sluggish band performance, there's way more energy on most of these songs here. Everything, it just seems to be clicking and working better on this record. Not that there are still aren't moments that things that kind of don't work or that feel a little bit forced. But the X Factor is a really difficult listen for me. I think on paper, I should like the X Factor better because it's darker and more moody, and
Mm.
I like that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So I think over the years, I've tried to force myself to listen to the X Factor more than I have Virtual 11.
Mm.
After we posted our video for the X Factor, a few people chimed in saying that they like Virtual 11 much better. I think Blaze sounds way more comfortable here.
Mm.
Sounds like he's kind of settled into who he is in Iron Maiden. I think the songwriting in general is much better, more lively. The band sounds like they have a bit more energy. It makes me think that what they should have done, and I mentioned this during the RX Factor episode, that maybe if there was a producer there, the producer would have said, a strong producer would have said, guys, this isn't working. We need to walk away from this and come back later. What they should have done was is they should have, when Blaze came into the band, they should have maybe done a small tour introducing Blaze to the world. Imagine if the song Virus then was released as a single with a live song as a B-side. I
Mm.
think Virus is a really good song. We'll talk about that later. Maybe it would have given Blaze a chance to settle in a little bit. It's understandable how Blaze could have been overwhelmed by the situation. Iron Maiden is the biggest metal band, one of the biggest metal bands in the world. So to walk into a situation like that is probably tough. We talked about
Oh
how
yeah.
Steve's head was probably not in the right place during the X Factor. He was going through some personal things, a divorce and stuff. So really, I think it would have been better for them to have just said, you know what? Let's just put this record on the shelf. I'm talking about the X Factor. Because when I hear Virtual 11, if Virtual 11 was the record that came out instead of the X Factor, right? Virtual X, maybe they could have called it. Uh, Maybe the second Blaze album would have been even better because there's moments on this record where I kind of feel like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm getting this, and maybe I'm starting to hear songs that work as Blaze era songs. Like there's songs that you think of, their Paul Di'Anno songs, Paul Di'Anno Iron Maiden songs. Not that Bruce can't sing them, but they're just like they had their sound during the Bruce era, during the Paul era, and during the
Mm.
Bruce era. It seemed like a struggle on the X Factor, but on Virtual 11, I start to feel like they're starting to settle into a sound with
Yeah.
with Blaze, and Virus is a good example of that. It's can't really picture that being a Bruce song or a Paul song,
Mm.
but it works as a Blaze song, you know, and there's some things on here where I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, if they had maybe done one more, done another record or two, maybe it would have gotten even better. Maybe they would have settled in even more to the Blaze Bailey era of Iron Maiden. Of course, that's not what happened. You mentioned, and you were right, the tide was starting to turn with metal starting to come back. I always say when Sabbath did their reunion record, when Ozzy rejoined Sabbath, which was 96, I believe, was really when it started to turn, and you had Ozzy rejoin Sabbath, Bruce would rejoin Maiden, Rob would rejoin Priest, all within, like about a 5 year span there. Uh, I forgot to apologize early on. My cat is here, so if you hear some noises in the background, that's the cat. It's not me. Trust me. Uh, yeah, so this is an interesting record, not without faults.
Hmm.
Uh, Still, at the end of the day, Blaze is the third best Iron Maiden singer. But at least here, I feel like he got to really, he had a shot at it here. He was put in a position to succeed on
Mm.
more, I should say, on this record.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like the X Factor was just a mess. The songs were a mess. The way they handled Blaze was a mess. Nobody was playing to their strengths. But here, I really think that they've kind of settled in and found it a little bit. The mix, it's weird. I've been listening to it on streaming, which is what are those remasters? The 2015 remasters, I
Yeah.
think it does. Uh, that's all I got. I don't have an original CD of this. And last night I threw on the vinyl reissue, which I believe is the 2015 remaster.
Mm.
And I thought there was something wrong with my turntable. I actually walked over and I was like, there's something wrong here. Like the vinyl does not sound good. I don't know what happened. Somebody bumped a knob, somebody did something, but it's super boxy. It's super weird, kind of quiet.
Mm.
And the vinyl is very strange because most of those, I mean, this would be a totally another topic, the 2015 remasters. Uh, but yeah, so the mix is okay. It's not fantastic. It's okay. But yeah, it's a weird record, and I think I've actually been kind of enjoying it because I've heard the Number of the Beast so many times, and hey, I still love to put that record on and everything. But same with all the classic stuff. But sometimes you want to listen to something different,
Mm.
and I'm not gonna, at first, before we came into this, I was going to say that I actually like Virtual 11 better than Fear of the Dark, but I'm not gonna say that, but it's dangerously close. You mentioned a
Mm.
soccer game. This is
Yeah.
like the score is way too close, the
Yeah. Yeah.
score
Yeah.
it's not a blowout that I'm like, oh yeah, Fear of the Dark is a million
No.
times better than Virtual 11. Because
Yeah.
I don't like the way Bruce sings on Fear of the Dark.
No.
The way his voice is there, I think is some of his worst singing. Uh, and quite honestly, some of the newer stuff, and again, maybe it's because I kind of feel like I'm not burnt out on this record. I've barely listened to this. This is without question my least listened to Iron Maiden record. So as I've started to get into it more, it feels like there's some stuff to really like on here. And in my opinion, my three favorite Blaze era songs are on this record.
Mm.
I think two of them are probably obvious, but the third one might be a surprise to people, and I'll
Yeah.
save it for
Yeah.
when we get to the track by track. But
Yeah. It's interesting that when you talk about the sound because when I've talked to fellow Maiden fans that I know about the differences or the similarities between the two Blaze albums, I think the one thing that gets mentioned is that the X Factor is a bit more. So now I'm going to use my second language, English here. Is the word coherent? That it's more.
yeah, it does have the X Factor has a sound to it.
Yeah,
It
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 has
has
more.
atmosphere. It's a little darker, and it has an atmosphere that goes through the whole record.
Yeah, and I think that if you like the X Factor, you sort of like that sound, that performance, that Iron Maiden a bit more. But to me, that comes. I'm way more into the actual sound songwriting qualities, and in that respect, I think Virtual 11 is just way better. The songs get me engaged way more on Virtual 11. You mentioned the sound there. I must confess, I don't have that one on vinyl, the new version from 15. I only have my original vinyl, which is a double,
Okay. I was going to ask if it was
and
a double. Yeah.
here is the Virtual 11. They thought it was. We can talk about that a bit now. What I don't like about this album is I'm not a fan of this cover. I am
Yeah,
not a
no.
fan of the connection they try to do with football and
Yeah.
the virtual reality stuff with the video game they were working on, the Ed Hunt, which would come out later when Bruce was back in '99. The Ed Hunter. I don't like this, and apparently when I read stuff about this, Melvin Grant was like a sort of an afterthought, was asked to put in the football game here down in the corner. And you can see this guy sitting here with some sort of virtual reality 3D sort of
Yeah.
gear on, and this. Oh, I'm not a fan of this, and I think the name Virtual 11, which is a bit of a pun, of course, since you have the soccer, the football lineup with all the players, and actually the guys who are not our Maiden are all very well known football players who are like playing for their national teams. There are a few English like Ian Wright and Stuart Pearce, but also a French player called Patrick Vieira, were all very big names and apparently Maiden fans. And I mean, that is sort of fun, but I don't I don't get off on that. I don't think that's the way to present an album.
Yeah.
It just feels a bit contrived, a bit
Yeah.
forced to have
Yeah.
like, well, we like football and we have a video game coming out, so we'll make an album with virtual
Yeah.
reality and a virtual football. I don't like that. I think that's a crap idea,
Yeah.
and they should have been stopped. Melvin Grant, the illustrator who also made, of course, the Fear of the Dark album, which is good. He also later made the Final Frontier album that I don't like at all. The cover, that is.
Yeah.
So it's a bit hit and miss in that way, and I think that it's the way you present yourself with with the graphics and pictures and stage sets and sleeves and everything, that is important. That is a part for me of the whole package, the whole work of art, so to speak. And on this one they dropped the football, pun intended, uh, very much so. What is nice with the vinyl version of this one is that it's actually proper black vinyl, because from 2000 and forward, the original vinyl editions have been like picture discs and
Yeah.
stuff like that, which I am not a fan of because you can't play them. And I have to point and be honest here. I haven't actually listened to this vinyl since '98, I guess. So I can't actually remember what I think about the quality of the vinyl version. But that one is very expensive these days. I think you have to at least pay some 300 US dollars for it or something like that, or
Yeah, I'm sure.
maybe even a bit more. But while we're on the Virtual 11 editions, I think this is a bit hard to see because But if you're watching this, this is I think it's called a lenticolor. Is that a thing? You know,
Oh,
where you can,
lenticular. Yeah, you can
yeah, yeah,
move it and it's like
exactly,
a 3D type of
yeah,
image.
yeah, and that's fun for the kids. And I also have this two CD version, which is a Japanese one. There is an OB, but I keep it inside here. And on the second disc, there is the single B sides, Blood on the Worlds and then the Aftermath, which are from the Angel and Gambler uh, CD singles, of course. Uh, Another thing that is very interesting and I really enjoy about this Japanese CD version is that it has a sort of handwritten liner notes reproduced by Steve Harris.
Mm.
So as we go through the songs, a lot of the inside info I have on the songs actually come from literally Steve's pen, where he sort of says that this song was made by blah blah blah, and he tells a bit about the background. And there are actually at least one very interesting comment in those liner notes, which we will get to when we get to that very song, which is a bit telling, I would say. Uh, but again, Melvin Grant did the cover. I'm not a fan of the theme of everything.
Yeah, and you know what? I was reading a quote from Steve where he said something like, "Well, we know that most of our fans are soccer fans like we are." And I thought to myself, I'm not. And I'll tell you something funny. Like, I mean, I'm here in the States and late 90s, early 2000s. I had never seen a soccer game till on TV. I've never seen a live soccer game. I only saw it on TV for the first time, maybe like 5 years ago. So
Okay.
I distinctly remember seeing that picture on the inside and not, first of all, I didn't get, I mean, Virtual 11, the 11th album, I got that. I had no clue that there's 11 players on the field. And I didn't even know what those outfits were that they were wearing. Like, I was like, what is that? Oh, is that, are those like soccer outfit? What is that? Like, I had never seen a soccer outfit before. I had no idea what people,
Yeah.
I didn't get it. I did not. I mean,
But
I put it together like, oh yeah, I guess there's supposed to be like is there a soccer ball in the picture? I don't even remember, but I just remember not getting it. Are they wearing cleats? Can you see their cleats or anything?
what's that? They're wearing shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I didn't get it. I mean, I'm sure I figured it out, but at first I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I I don't share Steve's passion for football. So
But I can assure you that the soccer or football is like the biggest athletes game in the world.
oh
So
yeah, yeah, and I'm sure like yeah, and over in Europe,
yeah,
look, I'm a big
South
hockey
America
fan. If
and
like for some reason
Africa.
there were
Yeah,
pictures of them on the ice in hockey uniforms, I would have been like, wow, cool, but being that I know nothing about, I just don't like the idea, you're right, of
yeah.
mixing because it seems like Iron Maiden is not that kind of band. Like uh they're not like a skate punk band, right? That mixes
No,
urban life with, images of them skateboarding and the music and sort of their hobby sort of directly ties into the music.
yeah.
This is not the case here. Soccer, I get it. Steve is a soccer fanatic. I get it. So is Geezer Butler. But if
Mm,
Black Sabbath had some sort of soccer themed thing to one of their records, I'd be like, what? This doesn't, it seems forced. Like you said, the cover looks bad. It's way too busy. It's like, I don't get it. This was that weird era of like when games that were like you needed the CD disc to play the game in your computer. And if I
mm,
remember correctly, the game was pretty bad, and it was like the early days of trying to make this stuff kind of work. And
mm.
I mean, I guess they're trying to be in the present, and this type of thing was a topic in the late 90s, the tech boom and all that. The internet was booming and all that stuff. But Yeah, it doesn't work. And just another reason why I kind of dismissed this record and never really didn't give it a chance till much later.
Yeah, I think that our Maiden, when they're good, are painting sort of a picture of something else, of
Yeah.
not necessarily a fantasy, but I mean something that is a bit more thought-provoking or storytelling in a way, telling you something about the way people work, or but there is no like mystery to football. Not to me, at least. That doesn't make up. That doesn't conjure any images for me in any way. It doesn't.
And
It's
if
not
it
so.
was like if that image was used for one of the singles or the B-sides or some promotional thing or something like, okay. And
That
I
would be
get
good.
it.
Yeah.
They tied it in. They did like a promotional thing going out and playing people and stuff like that. But to tie it into the album itself is no, it doesn't work for me.
No, it doesn't. Before we get move on and get into the very songs, you mentioned the compilation album, the best of the beast, and that is worth. Normally, we don't, of course, we wouldn't talk about like we talked about live after death. We also said that we won't be talking about all the live albums, and of course, talking about compilation albums is rather pointless, actually. But in '96 they put out their very first compilation album, and if you are watching on YouTube, I am now holding up my vinyl box set of 4 vinyls of Best of the Beast. It's a slipcase with the vinyls, and it also comes with this very book. Maybe if you're watching, you can see it's signed by all the band, and this is a book with a bit of history to the band. There's lists
Wow.
of all the gigs they've done. There's lyrics for all the songs featured, and like you said, there was this all new, brand new song called Virus. And there was also on, not all editions though, there was a reprint of the very first Soundhouse tapes,
Mm.
and including the fourth track, Strange World, which wasn't on the very single back in '79, of course. But now they sort of made that, they put it out there on this very vinyl box set. And of course, this box set is ridiculously expensive. It's
I can
you,
imagine.
you at least some €400, which is, I think, is about the same in US dollars these days. But it also have another live recording from Gothenburg in '95 of Afraid to Shoot Strangers, and I think that is a very good choice. That is one of the Bruce songs that Blaze sort of made his own, or that he really could like
Yeah.
make his song, so to speak. So Best of the Beast, great. There was this 4 vinyl box set. There was this double CD version and a single CD versions. And the single CD version was more or less just all the hits. But on the vinyl version and the 2 CD version, there are more deep cuts and interesting songs put on there. Um, yes. Is there anything more to say about this? Well, actually, yeah, the song Virus. You said that you liked the song Virus.
Yeah.
Do you have any more to say than that on the song
Uh,
Virus?
I really like the ending of it when it goes into that like weird sort of syncopated rhythm thing. And there's some background vocals or something going on.
Mm.
Uh, I think the beginning of the song is too long, kind of the quiet part and loud, quiet, loud, quiet.
Mm.
It does that too many times, but this is going to be something that just plagues Iron Maiden, the inability for them to edit themselves. But I think it's interesting that the whole kind of format of the song, I think the chorus is really catchy. I think Blaze sounds good on it. Uh, it doesn't sound like something I can't really say like, oh yeah, this sounds like a typical Iron Maiden song. It doesn't. It sounds different. And I think that that's really cool. And it sort of makes me, what I said earlier on, like, boy, maybe they were sort of starting to find their own sound during the Blaze era. And yeah, I think it's a great song. It could have been on the record. Uh, and I think it kind of hints at like maybe where they could have gone with the Blaze record. It has a little bit of a man, I want to say this, but like a 90s alternative like sensibility to it. Like it's just weird. Like the rhythms are strange,
Yeah,
uh, but in a good way. Like in like just a who wrote that song?
I think it's a band song actually, but it might be all but Nico.
Yeah, because again, it just has a real kind of 90s alternative, trying
Yeah,
different things vibe to it. Uh, Harris, Gares, Murray, Bailey. Yeah, so
yeah,
everybody except Nico.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
think these the cover for the different CD formats are really good actually.
yeah,
Really cool looking.
yeah.
But I sort of like the song as well. I think your main points are all valid. The intro bit goes on for far too long, but I when it gets going, I think it's okay. And that very last bit with the rats in the cell, you know who you are. It's quite good, and it's a bit, we have some sort of also a bit or very unusual for Blaze singing in our Maiden that they have dubbed the vocals into uh, in the chorus of the song where he does harmonize with himself. That is very unusual. Um, but I think it's a good song. It's a song that Maiden never played live. Blaze have done it quite a few times when he's doing Maiden sets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and it usually works very well, actually. He did it the last time when I saw him last autumn. So, yeah, Virus. It's a bit forgotten, I think, but
I
it
wish they
was,
had pushed themselves to do kind of the way Bruce was pushing himself with an album like Skunkworks to be different. It was sort of modern, in the sense that it didn't sound like a 1980s metal record. Uh, so I kind of wish that Maiden had pushed themselves to do more different things and get away from like, we're really going to try to not do any galloping. We're going to minimize the gallops. We're going to minimize the typical Iron Maiden things. We're going to push ourselves to do some different rhythms, some different arrangement style things. And that song kind of hints at that for me that if they had maybe gone in that direction, I mean, it might not have worked, but at least it would have been them kind of trying something different,
yeah,
trying to do
yeah.
something different.
I think that now when I think of that song, I think the very last part of the song, it feels very, very Janik to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe a bit more of that. And that is one of the things that I find a bit even weird actually with this album. It's only one Janik Gers song on Virtual 11. I would love to ask Janik what was going on there with that. Why is that? Because on the previous album, The X Factor, he wrote like more than half of the songs, or was
Yeah.
at least involved. Same with Fear the Dark. He wrote a bunch of songs for that one, trying out different styles and ideas. But I don't know. Maybe he was just uninspired. I have no idea. It would be very, very interesting to talk about that with Yannick, but
And
we'll
it's a
see.
little bit like the last song on the X Factor, The Unbeliever. That was another one that was kind of weird, had like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very
Mm,
un-Iron Maiden like things to it. And it just kind of makes you wonder if they had tried to really push themselves to go in a different direction.
yeah,
It would have upset traditionalists, but I don't know. Maybe it would have worked because I know I've said this, I was so burnt out when I heard Can I Play with Madness, and I was just so tired in 1988. It was 8 years of galloping and the typical Iron Maiden tropes, and I was just really burnt out on it, and I just really wanted to hear them do something different. And I always respected Bruce, and that Bruce seemed to try to do some different things, Balls to Picasso and Skunk Works, and he was trying to do different things. And it's still Bruce, it's still metal, but he's trying to get away from the typical things that you would expect from the singer from Iron Maiden. And
yeah,
it's just a shame that they didn't push themselves more and kind of said, you know what, now's a new chapter. It's a read the tea leaves, feel the wind blowing. The 90s
yeah,
metal and hard rock and heavy music had shifted and moved in a different direction. They maybe could have been a little more self-aware of that. And I don't know, maybe they could have, maybe the 90s would have been a little friendlier
yeah.
to them.
But actually, I mean, it's not that the X Factor is a run-of-the-mill sort of record or the Virtual 11 record
Yeah.
either. So they, in a way, but with not with success though. But they did something else because the X Factor on the Blaze era Maiden is not the Maiden of
Yeah.
with Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything about the quality. I'm just saying that they did something different,
Yeah.
and uh, and I think, uh, like we discussed at length with Fear the Dark, and of course also with the X Factor, the guy that sort of brings in the difference is Janickers, of course, who was
Yeah.
new in the band. For No Prayer, he only got, well, they had actually started to record the album, so there was no time for him to write any songs or anything. But anyway, should we start up
Yeah.
talking about the very individual tracks?
Yes. So the
Yes.
album opens with Future Real. I think this is a fantastic opener. Tons of energy. Classic kind of Iron Maiden opener. It's fast, it's to the point. I think Blaze sounds really good. He's got that sort of aggressive thing going on. The chorus is fantastic. That riff underneath the chorus is great. Yeah, I love this song. This is one of my three favorite from the Blaze era. I think it's a fantastic album opener. It's a great, great song. I don't know if they ever quite got this energy right on the X Factor. Just right from the beginning, you're like, yeah, this sounds like Iron Maiden here. It's got that Iron Maiden energy
Mm,
to it. So yeah, I love this one. I think it's great. I like the lyrics too. The lyrics are, again, maybe tying in slightly with the record. The record has sort of a computer futuristic sci-fi uh, vibe to it. What is real, future real? Do you believe what you feel? Can you, like what is reality? Things.
mm,
So yeah, great. Love it.
yeah. Is this actually the very, I won't say last, but at least, well, is this the very last Steve Harris up-tempo blaster? Or could we
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
one? Because from Future Real to this day, Steve hasn't done a song in this style. Does
Yeah.
unfortunately. I mean, this is like, I'm not saying it's as good as high, but it has that sort of
Yeah.
intensity,
Hmm.
that really, really driving force. And there is no like mellow intro. It just goes da do 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 do. I mean,
Exactly.
from
It comes right into
it,
songs only 3 minutes long.
yeah,
3 minutes. I mean,
yeah.
what is the shortest Iron Maiden song? That's a good trivia question. Not including like if you're counting something like Ides of March or something like that. Proper song with lyrics. What
Mm.
is the shortest Iron Maiden song? This has
I
gotta
think
be in there.
I think it's down there with the shortest ones. I think
Yeah.
Rothschild is perhaps even a bit shorter, the recorded version, maybe so, or something else from Purgatory is also quite short, I believe. Mm, but I think this is for sure one of the shortest songs.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Future Real. I think this is a great song. And they did this on tour with Bruce later on. And it's not like you talked about earlier about Blaze finding his place, and that there are songs that are sort of Blaze songs, Maiden style. And I think Future really is one of those, because there's nothing wrong with the version that Bruce sings, the live version, but Blaze has this sort of urgency, this sort of,
Hmm.
I won't say perhaps not desperation, but there's this intensity in Future Real that I really think that Bruce doesn't really have, that this song needs. He sounds a bit manic, like a paranoid person, which is the subject of the song. Is someone who is talking about, can you believe anything? Like the paranoia and conspiracies and stuff like that. Blaze said that he was sort of inspired by writers like Noam Chomsky, uh, things that are in the media, what get reported, what doesn't get reported, stuff like that. But I just love Future Real. I think it's a great song, and if they would to play this live again, I would be very, very happy. Not that that will ever happen, though. But yeah, uh, if you dig out a live version from Blaze live album as live as it gets, you can hear this version with guitar harmonies, and I just think that makes the song even better. I talked at length, and we did when we talked about the X Factor, the absence of
Yeah.
proper uh, guitar harmonies, but with this one on the live album, as live as it gets with Blaze, you can hear it, and I think it just makes the song a bit more widescreen, bigger, and of course much better. It's quite interesting to think about that. If there's not a Dennis Stratton or Adrian Smith in the band, there are hardly any guitar harmonies. So apparently, neither Yannick or Dave are the type of guitar players that thinks like that. And that is one of my main problems with this album. Let's get it out there. Just like with the X Factor, this doesn't sound to this. So in that sense, it doesn't sound like the Iron Maiden that I fell in love with. Because to me, Iron Maiden has guitar harmonies. They have like more elaborate guitar work on their albums. But with Harris running the show and Dave and Jan playing the guitars, they sort of just do the stripped down sort of version. And I mean, I think I said this quote when we talked about the previous album too, but there's this place where some interview somewhere where Steve is saying that, well, if you have such a strong melody, you don't need harmonies. And I mean, well, yeah, in a way, but no, you're wrong, Steve. It doesn't, it's not like it makes the song any worse, does it? To have a bit of guitar harmonies, it doesn't devalue the song, not to me at least. But
Yeah. I
but
would say though that the guitar melodies are just better on this album than on X Factor. I think they're
yeah,
catchier, they're more sing-along kind of classic Iron Maiden, like, you
and
want to
I think
whoa,
that
whoa, whoa to them.
I think that comes down to the tempo. that the songs are a bit more higher in tempo, they're a bit faster, and that I just think things like that do make a difference actually. Um,
I said
there's
this
one.
on the X Factor that they just felt like they weren't clicking as a band, that the tempos were wrong, that sometimes
Mm,
somebody's rushing, somebody's dragging. It was just like it just never settled in. Whereas, like you just mentioned, the tempos feel right on this, and especially in a song
mm.
like Future Real, it really feels like everybody's feeling this at the right tempo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everybody's right locked in.
There is one more note I have for Future Real that I think is an interesting thing, and that is that underneath Dave's solo, there is like a ghost solo. It's not the same solo, but I guess it's another take that they didn't use, but they put that solo into the mix, like underneath the regular Dave solo. There's this ghost solo, which makes a sort of an interesting effect, and I think that is uh, a very cool thing. They could have more ghost solos playing underneath. It just it just adds something. So, and I can't actually think of any other Iron Maiden song that has ever had that.
Yeah.
So that makes the solo in Future Real unique, actually. And it's of course it's Dave playing the solo. It's a quintessential Dave solo, I would say. Okay, next one.
The Angel and the Gambler. This is one of the ones I don't like on this record. I don't like when Iron Maiden does this like hard rock type of sound. No prayer. They did Holy Smoke on Fear of the Dark. It's Hell Ain't a Bad Place, or Hell is From Here to Eternity. I
Uh,
just don't like when they do this sound. And this song, as you were talking earlier, I pulled up the lyrics and I counted. He says, uh, don't you think I'm a savior? He says that 21 times in the
mm.
song. And that's not counting the full chorus. Do you think I'm a savior? Don't you think I could save you? Don't you think I could save your life? He says that like it is so repetitive. And it's this. I mean, I sound like a broken record with this, where if they had a good producer, the producer would say, first of all, you got to cut that back. There's just too many times. But he would say, it's not that he says it 21 times. It's that he says it the exact same way 21 times. Don't you think I'm a savior? Don't you think I could save you? Don't you think I could save your life? Don't you think I could save you? It's just like, oh my God. Like, just mix it up. Don't you think I'm a savior? Don't you? I mean, anything. Change the rhythm, go up in pitch, go down in pitch, change the phrasing, do something. He literally repeats the same line over and over and over. And I don't like the way he sounds on this one. Those words don't flow easily. Don't you think I'm gonna say, don't you think, don't you think, don't you? And if I wanted to count how many times he says, don't you think, if it's
It's 63.
63, right.
63.
63 times. And I just don't like Iron Maiden doing this like rock and roll AC/DC type of thing. And it's weird because they've placed now on like I said, No Prayer. The second song is Holy Smoke, which is the same type of song. Fear of the Dark, From Here to Eternity is the second song. What's the second song on X Factor? I don't think it's a song like that on X Factor. But I just don't like Iron Maiden doing this. And it's a bummer that it's the second song on the. I know what they're thinking. It's like it sounds like a song that should get on the radio because it's kind of straightforward, but don't like it.
Yeah, it's straightforward for 9 minutes.
Oh,
So, sorry, what?
oh, no, no, wait. 9 minutes and 51 seconds, which
Yeah,
is ridiculous. Again, it's like this is a Steve song. It, I guess just no one else in the band somebody has to have thought, this is too long. This needs to be edited. But either they can't convince Steve, or once Steve has set on something, he's just going there, and there's nobody that can stop him. When they were young guys and Martin Birch walked into the studio for the first time, if he told them to jump, they probably said how high, you know. But now they're at a point where nobody can tell them what to do. And because of that, you get a song, this is the second song on the record that's 9 minutes and 51 seconds that says, "Don't you think," 63 times in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of my least favorite songs by the band ever. I think this is it doesn't work. And if he was going for he said somewhere, maybe in those liner notes I was talking about, that he was going for like the Who or UFO kind of driving hard rock
No
song,
way.
but it doesn't have, it doesn't, no, it doesn't. It doesn't work. And apparently he and I know that's from these. He said he came up with the idea as he was driving his car going to Wales, and he had this like small cassette recorders, and he thought I was lucky to have that with me as I was driving. So he was starting to hum and sing the very ideas for the song. And I say, unfortunately,
Yeah.
the
If
Angel
only he
and the
had left that tape player at home,
yeah,
the
yeah,
world
yeah,
would have been a better place for
yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah. And there are so many problems with this one. It's too long, and I am not a stranger to monotonous, repetitive types of music. And of course, but for me, that kind of music isn't necessarily like rock music. Perhaps it's something else, like Kraftwerk, or I mean something like that. But but with if you are to do this sort of music as a rock band and has that sort of jammy 70s sort of vibe to it, you have to have all the band locked in and really gel together, like on a live record, when you feel that they're on the same page, and the energy is going, all everyone is playing the same direction. But I don't get this here. And Blaze later commented that he was, I mean, kudos to him for being an honest guy. He said that this is too long, and if they had rehearsed it a bit more, and that was one of his complaints for a few of these songs on this album, that he said that if we had only rehearsed a bit more, we should then we would have trimmed those songs down. And Angel and Gambler is one of these examples, and I will give you more examples as we go along. And the single version are 6 minutes, and they made an appearance, and this must be in March of '98 when they came to Sweden. They were on this family show called Söndagsöppet, uh, which means like open on Sundays. Uh, and that is, as far as I know, one of the shortest official versions that has been broadcasted or performed, or I mean, that's out there. And that one is 4 minutes long.
Mm.
And it's only one verse, and that whole mellow part is just cut out, of course. And so maybe that 4 minute version is the best version because it's the shortest version. Another fun thing about which make that appearance on that Swedish television show is that Janik, for some reason, I don't know why, but he wasn't with them in Stockholm. Maybe he was ill or something, I don't know. But standing in for him was Tony Newton from the band Dirty Deeds. And Dirty Deeds were one of the opening acts that would play most of the gigs actually throughout the tour. So he is in the band playing, miming as Janik Urs, which make it a bit special too. I mean, I know that has happened before. Like Nico was a stand-in, a drummer wearing an Eddie mask when Clive couldn't make a show in '81. But I think these are the only two occasions that I can remember where there have been other people than the actual band members performing, or at least pretending to perform with the band. But yeah, another fun thing is that it's Steve who plays the keyboards on
Yeah,
this
he
song.
plays it on the whole record. I read that.
I think he plays on 3 songs. I
Okay.
think it's Michael Kenny, the bass technician, who is playing keys on a few other songs as well. Not all the songs have keyboards, so.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Oh yeah. Okay.
and think like this. Think if they were doing this, they had like a live version or a live EP with this song, and they had like a proper organ player, a guy like John Lord being a
Yeah.
guest, doing this song with the band. I mean, maybe it could have worked. Maybe it could have
Maybe
worked,
if
and with a bit of crowd interaction going on in
yeah.
the. I mean, something else. But as a studio version with Steve playing those,
Oh, I hate those
I mean,
stabs and the dude. That 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 that. I hate that. I
I think
absolutely
that
hate that.
that is probably the worst thing that has ever happened on an Iron Maiden recording.
It is. It's bad. It sounds bad.
It,
It sounds dated. I, yeah, not
and I
good.
mean, for a song that long, I mean, if it was a '70s rock band, they would have like a long guitar solo. But
Yeah.
there's not much guitar solos going on either in this song. But I will just say I didn't count the 63 times. It was our friend Luis Mariano Rodriguez who actually counted them. So, because I couldn't bear doing anything like that. I think. No, 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 Angel and Gambler. No, no, just no. And
All right.
actually, one final thing. This was the first single of the album, and I only think that it was Steve who wanted this to be the first single. I think no one else thought that. I know for sure that Rod Smallwood voted against it, and that he wanted Future Real as the first single for the album. But yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Yep.
Now we live in a world where Angel and Gambler was released as a single.
All right, next is Lightning Strikes Twice. This is another one that I don't really care for. I think the guitar melody and the intro, I do like that. But once the song kicks in, I don't know, it just feels plodding to me, like it's just reminds me of the X Factor where just the rhythms aren't quite right. And I don't like when Blaze starts singing that maybe lightning strikes twice again. It's too many times in the chorus. It's too repetitive. It's almost like he can't get the words out quick enough or something like that. Like the words are, it's like some kind of tongue twister or something. So I don't really like this one either. And this is what I mentioned in my intro that love Future Real, but then these two songs hit and they're a little bit of a brick wall for me. I have to get past these two songs to start enjoying the record again. And I really think that these two songs turned me off to this whole album. I would just, oh, Future Real's great, but then by the time I got to Lightning Strike, I was like, this is just going to be more of the same, like the X Factor. And I just bailed on this record. I don't like this one either.
I think it's okay though, but it's not. When it gets going, it has a bit of energy to it. It's a Steve Dave song. Um, it's not great. The chorus is not all right, that's for sure. And this is one of the things that Blaze mentioned in this interview, where he said that if they had rehearsed it a bit, because when you sing something and you record it in a studio, but I think his comment was when they did this one live, as they did throughout all of the tour, he had actually trouble to sing it because he got out of breath because of the chorus is the way it is.
Yeah.
Maybe lightning strike twice, maybe
Maybe,
lightning
yeah.
strike. There's no,
Maybe like it's maybe like a skipping record or something.
and I mean, maybe lightning, that's okay, but strike twice, strike
Yeah.
twice,
Yeah.
strike twice.
Yeah.
It doesn't strike twice. It doesn't work.
No.
It's no, no. I mean, they could have just done something like maybe lightning strikes twice, something
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
and just bring the tempo down a bit so he could like actually word the words a bit more.
Yeah.
But now it just feels. I mean, in one way, it's a very typical modern day Iron Maiden song. It has this slow intro, and it sort of builds, but it's not as drawn out as a typical modern day Iron Maiden song would be. So, and that is quite positive. And I think, like I said before, I think when it gets going and the energy in it, it's okay. It's not a good one, but it's not really that much to talk about. So maybe I've said my piece.
All right, next, the Klansmen. This should have been, they should have just dropped I can understand them wanting to keep the Angel and the Gambler because it's got this rock and roll feel, but they could have moved the Klansmen up and dropped either the second or third song. This is another one of my favorite Blaze songs. This is a song that they would do with Bruce. It's got a slow intro, but it works really well.
Mm.
I like this sort of Celtic vibe to it at times. The guitar melody, this is where I mentioned earlier about much catchier guitar melodies. And here, when they do those kind of sing along guitar parts, like this song's got that in it a bunch of times. The whole freedom, that's a great chorus. It's just totally designed for the live setting. It's got a lot of changes to it, but they all kind of work. It's long, 9 minutes and 6 seconds, but it goes by relatively quickly.
Yeah,
The sections seem to work pretty well. The lyrics are pretty interesting and engaging. So yeah, this to me is like one of the best of the Blaze era, and they must have thought the same thing because they've done this with Bruce a bunch of times.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but I think Blaze sounds really good on this. I think he sells it. Bruce sounds good on it also, but
Mm.
Blaze works on this. This whole record, the pitch problems from X Factor, you don't have that on here, or not to the extent that you do on the X Factor. So yeah, this is just great, and I just love the little guitar melodies. They are kind of weaving around in the background and coming in like in the chorus. There's like that sort of fast little open string guitar thing that they're doing. Yeah, the Klansman, great song.
Yeah. Of course, it's inspired by the 90s movies, Rob Roy with Liam Neeson and Braveheart, of course, with
Yeah.
Mel Gibson. So no surprise there. But I think it's funny that Steve mentioned somewhere that some American fans asked him if it was about the KKK. Well, I think you have to be quite stupid to believe that, though. But maybe they were trying to be funny or something. I hope so, at least. But copy paste just what you said. This is a great song. It's a great song by any Iron Maiden standard. Um, Again, sometimes when we talk about songs being too long, but at the same time, Steve can make songs engaging and interesting for 9 minutes, no problems. And the Klansman is for sure evidence of that, of course. So I like this one, and I think it's fair that they've done. It's not like we have to do something from the uh, Blaze albums. They don't really have to think of, like that, because this is a great song and they should do this quite regularly. And it is a fan favorite too. Um, I like this one. I have not much to add from what you just said before. So, uh, good song, great song.
Yeah. All right, next is When Two Worlds Collide. I really like this one too, and I can hear this one being like something that could have been on maybe somewhere in time. It I like the chorus in it. I kind of like the mood of it. I think Blaze sounds really good in the intro here. It's got that kind of moody intro, the guitar melody. Uh, it's a great guitar melody. There's a cool rhythm kind of change up thing going on underneath it. It just has kind of a classic Maiden vibe to it for me, and it just works well. And again, it seems like they've kind of either Blaze has settled into the role, or who's this one written by? This is a Murray Bailey Harris. So maybe because Blaze is involved in the writing, he's able to, he just feels comfortable in it. And yeah, I really like this one.
Mm. It's a slow gallop, which is usually the classic Maiden gallop has a way higher tempo. So this is a bit of a new take in that sense. I think the only problem for me with this song is that they do sing they repeat the chorus
Yeah.
a bit too much, and that's a bit unnecessary. This is also a song I mentioned the As Live as It Gets live album with Blaze, and this one is on there too. They do a great version when two worlds collide. Um, so I think it's Dave who made the sort of intro parts, uh, and Steve who did most of the rest. Uh, and of course, Blaze wrote the lyrics for it. It's not like the top shelf of Maiden songs, but it's a
Right.
good one.
Yeah.
Uh, and it has a sort of different. I haven't really thought about that. You said it has a sort of somewhere in time feel to it, and I can totally go for that. That's an interesting idea. It could really work with that sort of production that they have there. But maybe with Adrian playing along, there will be some more
Yeah.
guitar harmonies.
Yeah. I can picture Adrian on this
Yeah,
song.
yeah, absolutely. Good on ya. Yeah.
All right, next is The Educated Fool. I do not like this title. I think it's awkward. But I do like some of the stuff in here, like when Blaze sings the open page to chapter one. I think the rhythm underneath, like when he's singing the I want to live life on my own, it's kind of like stiff or awkward to me. But I think the chorus is great. And I love the harmonies, this whole like I will follow. They should have done more of that. They do that in Virus. We already talked about that at the end of
Mm,
Virus. And I
mm.
hear this and I hear some extra vocals layered in. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, they should have done more of this because it really does kind of add to the song. So another like kind of like when two worlds collide. Is it the greatest Iron Maiden song? No, but it's a solid Iron Maiden song. It's a
Mm,
solid Iron Maiden song. The Educated Fool, terrible title, but in general, a pretty solid song.
mm,
And if there was more of this from the Blaze era, again, it kind of makes you think like they're sort of settling into something here. And, I would have been okay with, yeah, this isn't Peace of Mind or Number of the Beast, but I can listen to these songs.
mm. I actually really I love The Educated Fool. I don't necessarily find the title awkward. I think it works. Uh, at the same time, it does have all the traits and trademarks of a modern day Maiden song. But again, this time it works. It's not like there is something wrong with the formula. It's the way that they what they use them for. And with The Educated Fool, I think they use them wisely and not foolishly. The lyrics is, of course, about becoming older, but not necessarily getting much wiser. I think that the theme of the song, in that sense, is quite. I like that. It. I know the Maiden A to C guys, Maiden A to Z guys, sometimes talk about Grandpa Harris, where he is. In the olden days, everything was better and blah 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 stuff like that. It's a sort of a theme that he sometimes uh, do. But with The Educated Fool, I think the lyrical theme of the song I also love the time will flow, and
Yeah, yeah.
I just think that's massive. And when they did this live, that was of course a huge sing along part, even though the song was new. And Virtual 11 World Tour was the only tour where they played this song. So, but I'm glad that I got to hear this one live because it is a sort of live song to me, and I think it works. Uh, this is one when I'm talking about a bit of hidden gems. I think this is one of the hidden gems on this album. That on another album presented with, uh, I mean, it could have been a this could be like another Blood Brothers, even
Yeah.
perhaps in my mind, which is a huge fan favorite these days. Um, but yeah, I really like this one. I've said that a few times now, so
Yeah.
why not stop doing that? But
All right, next. Don't look to the eyes of a stranger.
don't listen to it either.
Yeah. I do like the slow intro. I think it kind of works. I like the strings in the background, and there is a lot of energy when it kicks in. I like the quiet part with Bruce or with Blaze kind of whispering. It's very dynamic, but here's my notes. But he says the chorus way, way, way too many times. Ridiculous. I mean, this, I was trying to count how many times he says "don't look" in the song. I I have the lyrics in front of me here. I lost it somewhere after 30 sometimes. I can't keep track of it. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's at the end of the song, "Don't look, don't look, don't look to the eyes of a street." He says that like I don't know, I'm gonna guess it's 20 some times just at the end of the song, that whole phrase, not how many times it says "don't look." It is ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. I can't believe that the other guys in the band aren't sitting like, Steve's in the control room working on this, and the other guys are in the other room by the water cooler going, guys, somebody's got to say something, right? This, this is, somebody has to say, I'm not saying anything. I'm out of here, leaving. I mean, again, again, I'm a broken record. A producer would say, no, no, I'm not doing this. I'll take my name off the record. Uh, I will press charges against you. I will file a lawsuit. It's it's
Yeah.
it's Lars Ulrich and his ridiculous snare drum on Saint Anger. It's like somebody has to know that this is not right, but they just don't speak up, or maybe they speak up and Steve is just so set in his ways that no
Mm.
one can tell Steve change Steve's mind when he's believes that something works, but
So
ridiculous.
I can answer your question. I can embroider your cooler water cooler conversation there and say there was actually one of the guys who stepped up to Steve and said, Steve, I don't like that part. And that was Yannick Gers. And Steve even writes that in these liner notes on the Japanese version I was talking about earlier.
Wow.
So Steve writes that Jan was very unsure about the manic part, as he puts it, but I think it works great. He writes in his liner notes. But I mean, and, and then thinking that they even tried to do this live. So not even when they've recorded the album, it's out there. They have listened to it a few times, and they're about to pick and choose the songs for the set. Not even then, the guys say, "Steve, are you sure?" But they do it like I think it's three times they performed it live, and it's just a train wreck of a song. This one, it's this is also deep down in the bottom for me when it comes to favorite Maiden songs. I This doesn't work. Of course, if I'm generous, I could say that the first bit sort of works and that the verses sort of works. They're okay-ish, but that's only like one third or not even half of the song, and the rest is just and don't look to the eyes of a stranger. Don't look to the eyes of us. Don't look to. I never counted this. But I don't know what to say. It's just amazing that they actually recorded a song like this. It just it's mind-boggling. Again, it's Steve playing the keys. He also did the keys. I forgot to mention. He also played the keys on the Klansman, and the rest of the keys are Michael Kenny. Uh, but no, no, this is
All right, I just counted. He says, "Don't look" 75 times.
yeah,
75
and
times.
that's a world record, ladies and gentlemen.
It's almost like, is he doing this on purpose to just like, I don't get it. To me, it's just, I don't understand. It's losing the plot to me. But all right, shall we move on?
Please.
All right, como estás, amigos? This is the third song that I really love on this record. You don't expect an Iron Maiden song to have a title like this in Spanish like this, but okay. But I actually think that this is a great deep cut. I think Blaze sounds really good here, especially in the intro. It's a
Yeah.
great chorus. It's very emotional. I love the way the song builds, especially those guitar melodies after the second chorus. It's just a really cool kind of ballad, emotional, well built, interesting song. And I think Blaze sounds great on it. And again, it's one of these songs like doesn't sound like typical Iron Maiden, but it kind of works. And maybe if
Mm,
they were a little more in tune to like, oh, trying to do some different things, some of it might have missed. But yeah, this is just a real deep cut last song on the record. Looking at the title, you're just thinking, I'm not gonna like this. I remember
mm,
seeing this record and being like, oh, like it took me a long time to be able to get all the way through this record, to be able to get past the first like three songs, quite honestly. And I remember looking at that title like, I'm gonna hate this. You know? I'm just gonna hate this. But I gotta say that I love it, man. I think Blaze
uh,
sounds really great, and I'm glad that Blaze was sort of given the opportunity to sing a song like this,
mm,
kind of an emotional, a song where he could put some emotion into it. And who's
mm,
Yannick in Blaze?
yeah.
Steve should have. I've said this that, and Maiden fans get angry at me for saying this. Steve, you are Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden would not exist without you. Uh, but you need to you need to become you want a soccer analogy? You
Mm,
need to become an assistant coach.
mm,
Hand the reins over to somebody else. You can still be involved in the team, but you got to step back here and let some other people run the ball a little bit more. Okay. You're a specialty guy now. You can't be on the field for the entire game type of thing, right? And to me, Steve just he's lost the touch. He forces some of these songs on here. He should have heard something like this and like, wow, this is really different, guys. Hey, you know what? Why don't you two guys throw me some other songs? Why don't you two
mm,
guys go away for a week and write a batch of songs and let's see what we can get out of it? Yannick,
mm.
like you said, he doesn't have a lot of writing credits on here. He should have
No.
been encouraged to write more because he tends to write outside the Iron Maiden box. He
Mm,
should have been like, guys, it's time for me to. I'm still gonna oversee everything. I'm still the guy that's got to say yes or no at the end of the day. But you guys run with this football a
mm,
little bit more. I need you
mm.
guys on the field a little bit more, running the plays.
Yeah. Yeah. I also love Como Estáis Amigos. I think it's a great one. I think, and I remember at the time there were people like, I don't like that song because of the title. They just said it. I think it's awkward that they have a title that says, "How's it going, guys?" Because that's
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
translates to.
Yeah.
So, but I think Como Estáis Amigos is it's a true hidden gem in that way, and it's hidden, like you said. It's the very last song of an album that I think some more casual metalheads or even very casual Maiden fans, they won't even get there because it's the last song of
Yeah.
an album that they don't like. And the song before, Don't Look to Right, maybe they just turned it off at the 69th time he was singing Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger and just missed out on such a
Yeah.
great song as Como Estáis Amigos. I think, and like I said before, it would be very interesting to know why is there only one Yannick Gers writing credits on this song. With Bruce and Adrian coming back, there's been a bit more competition, of course,
Yeah.
uh, on what on who gets their songs on the album. On this, in the same time, usually his songs are great songs, and I think "Como Estáis Amigos" is fantastic.
Yeah. And like I said, at this point in time where Bruce is a really strong songwriter, Adrian is a really strong songwriter, so you can understand, like you said, when they get back, it starts to get tough because you got some really great songwriters, and Steve's going to want to get his songs in there.
Mm.
But during this period, he would, again, it just goes back to this like, let's try to do something different. Let me have some other people write some songs. And like you said, there's like two walls on this record for me. The Angel and the Gambler and Lightning Strikes. It was
Mm.
hard for me to get past those two. And then, like you said, Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger. It was just like, I'm out of here.
Mm.
And looking at the title of the last one, it's like, I'm not even going there. I've had
Mm.
enough. I'm tapping out, you know.
Mm.
Uh yeah, and it's kind of a shame. Like if you could have put Virus on here. Imagine if Virus was the seventh song on here.
Mm.
And Como Estas Amigos, this could have been, you mentioned Blood Brothers earlier. This could have been the
Mm.
Blood Brothers of the Blaze era.
Mm.
You know, Amigo, no more tears. I mean, imagine in
Yeah,
South America
yeah.
them playing a song like this, right?
I,
You know?
I I don't know this, but I mean, maybe it's because of the Aussie album No More Tears that they didn't use that because that's what they sing the most in
Yeah,
the
yeah, you're right.
refrain. So, but maybe I don't know. Maybe that's the case. I think No More Tears would have been a much better title.
Yeah.
The inspiration for the lyric came from Blaze had like one of his mates from school who was a military, and he was killed in the Falkland Wars in 82, or someone he knew from school, or something like that. So he wrote a poem about that, and he used that poem to write the lyrics for the song that he wrote, of course, with Yannick. Uh, and thinking about that, this is in many ways it's a perfect song. The structure of the song, it's not too long, it's not too short. The deliverance from Blaze, just like you said, he has so much emotion, and uh, yeah, it's just a great vocal delivery. So why didn't they do this one live? This was the only song that they thought, let's not do that one. That's just weird. But
Yeah.
they said, let's try to do Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger and have the audience sing Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger 75 times. That would be great. No, it wouldn't. And I don't know. It, I feel, can you feel sorry for a song? But I feel kind of sorry
Yeah.
for this very song. Because
Actually, I
in an,
feel good for it that
yeah,
Blaze goes out on a good note. That
yeah,
the
yeah.
last song on Blaze's last record with the band is something positive. At least it's not like a total stinker and it's just like, oh man, this thing just ran out of gas. This band just
Yeah.
completely ran out of gas. No, it makes me feel good. Like I'm glad that Blaze got a song like this in on one of his records with Maiden because it's something that I could see him being proud of. Like, yeah, I'm really proud of this song. It was a good vocal performance. I like the lyrics. It's
Mm.
emotional. It's different. So,
I like many things about this song, and I like the guitar melody, that do 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 thing. That's great. I really love Janik's solo on this one. I like it when Janik plays very slow solos because he has a very sort of gritty, nasty sort of tone, which is a sort of weird combination when you play something very melodic. But I think for Como Estáis Amigos, it's a great song. It's a great song. Uh, I know Blaze have done this live a few times, and why wouldn't he? It's a great song.
yeah. All right. Well, that's a nice way to sort of wrap this up here on a positive note with the Blaze era. The Blaze era is often looked at as a mistake and everything. But I would say to people, if you've never heard this record or if you haven't listened to this record in a long time, maybe give it another listen and kind of imagine what maybe could have been a third Blaze era record. So, got any
Mm.
final thoughts on this record?
I think my final thoughts are a bit boring, actually. That the one thing that I think is really not working with this album, and it sort of breaks my heart, is that it's Nico's performance. He just sounds totally uninspired on this album. There are, if you listen to the album and you listen to like an average Nick McBrain song, you can sort of, how many tom fills are there? There are
Yeah.
quite a few tom fills in a regular average Nico Maiden song. How many tom fills does Nico play on this album? Hardly any. It's, to me it sounds like, and that sort of, I think I got Blaze with me on this when he says that they were sort of under rehearsed, and it's kind of weird also because they start to write the album at the very beginning of '97. They started to record during the summer, which is a fair few months later. So they should have had time to write and rehearse before they went into the studio. And then they were in the studio from the summer until, I think you said the recording ended somewhere in the autumn, like in November of '97, something like that, right? So there should have been plenty of time to sort of get everything together and sort of trim the songs. But if you listen to Nico's takes, it's like he is playing the drums like a professional drummer, because I mean the drums aren't bad, but he plays them like a guy who just got to know the songs. So he just plays them through very safe and steady, but he doesn't really sort of get the action going.
Yeah.
There are hardly any, what I say, typical Nicoisms on this album. It's just very plain, straightforward. I wouldn't say it's like Phil Rudd type of drumming, but for Nico and Iron Maiden, this is a unique album in that sense.
Yeah.
For the X Factor, the songs were more have a lower tempo, so there's not much to um, work on for Nico on that album. But with this, they should have had more drums, more toms, more things going on in the drum department. And if you just listen to the very next album, Brave New World, song structures, the type of songs they are writing are more or less in this type of vein that we hear on Virtual 11. But Nico's drumming is completely different, much more vibrant, vital.
Yeah.
It feels like he's actually having fun. On this one, he's just playing it safe. Is that because they didn't have the time, or is it because he just was so bored out of his mind by the material that he didn't feel it? Perhaps we'll never know. But again, if I ever meet Nico again, I will make sure to ask him about Virtual 11. I promise you.
Yeah, you're right that I didn't notice Nico at all, the drumming at all on this record. That's a good and a bad thing. There's nothing that stands out like, ooh, the drums are really dragging this down. But there's also nothing that jumps out like, wow, the drums are really adding a lot to this song, or that's a really cool drum part that really adds something. No, they're just kind of there, which is kind of strange, but
Yeah. So the singles released for this album was the first single, as I mentioned before, was unfortunately Angel and the Gambler. And there were like two CD single formats with the Aftermath, which is of course from the previous album, just as Blood on the World's Hands on this edition from live recordings from the show that I went to in Gothenburg in November of '95. Good recordings, recorded by Swedish National Radio, and I think mixed later by Steve, or remixed by Steve. They also put out a picture disc, which is quite nice. This is made the cover for this one, for the picture disc, the 7-inch, and this one is by Derek Riggs. But when we have got this far, he is working all on computers, and it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite Derek Riggs for sure. A fun detail, if you want to do some sort of Derek Riggs Iron Maiden exploration, can you see down here there is a hand? This is nerdy stuff now, so
yeah.
brace yourself. There is this hand, and if you start to look around on various Derek Riggs illustrations for Iron Maiden, you'll find that hand on more than 2 or 3 occasions. So I won't tell anyone. This is great fun for any Maiden nerd out there.
Wow.
Bring out your vinyls and start to count how many Derek Riggs hands can you find
That's
out there.
interesting.
But I think you can at least start with the Trooper. There's a good starting point. It also came with this picture sleeve, and my copy is signed by all but Yannick. This one. Actually, talking about, I know that I talked to fans at the time who were more like casual hard rock fans, and they were actually put off by the Angel and the Gambler when that was released. And I can sort of see that actually, that if you're a more casual fan that you like classic Maiden, and you get a 6 minute, as that's the length of the single version. If you get to hear that, you might think that, they're still not any good. So I just leave it at that. Unfortunately, because like we talked about now, there are quite a few really good songs on Virtual 11. They also released this single. This is a CD single of Future Real, which of course should have been the leading single for the album. Or again, not a very good album or single cover. I don't think this is good. This is from the video game that came out later. And this one has Evil That Man Do and Man on the Edge live versions. They also have all these singles have like, which was very popular at the time, if you remember, they had like an enhanced CD with a
Yeah.
sort of a
Yeah.
movie or a video or
Yeah.
something. I actually tried to play this on my computer some 27 years later. I couldn't do it. There's,
Yeah.
yeah, technology moved on,
Yeah.
unfortunately. We
All
are
right.
to talk a bit about at the very end of Blaze, of course.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what was going on? Why was he out of the band? There is Blaze himself hasn't really talked that much about why he was forced out of the band. Maybe maybe he don't want to talk about it. Uh, and Steve has said that if Blaze want to talk about why he was out of the band, he'll go first. Uh, so Steve has never ever talked about the reasons behind sacking Blaze Bayley. But there, and one of the few places where you can actually read about it is in this book. It's called At the End of the Day, and it's written by Lawrence Patterson, who was the drummer for Blaze Bayley, the Blaze Bayley band. And in this book, which is mainly a sort of tour diary, he also talks a bit, he writes about the background of Blaze, where he came from, and he also talks to Blaze about why he was out of the band. And the reasons in this book that uh, he mentioned is that he had trouble doing good vocals live, and he sort of puts the blame on the sound engineer that they used, the monitor guy. That Blaze said that he was never able to get the sound, the live sound that he wanted in his monitors to hear himself. He later on for Virtual 11 had a sort of in-ear system, which was accidentally destroyed by Janik Gers. The in-ear monitors were on like a table or something, and they got knocked over, and Yannick just trotted on them by mistake, of course. And I mean, you and me, we have done vocals live, and of course, to be able to hear yourself properly, to be able to sing good, is very, very important. The weird thing for me is that why does a singer for a band like Iron Maiden have such problems? That just sounds, to my ears, very, very weird. And the only guy who has sort of talked about this openly and is actually Nico. And before, you've seen this one,
Yeah.
the 50 years anniversary book, Infinite Dreams, and in this one, Nico talks about that he thinks that Blaze was struggling. He says that the band or himself, they were trying to sort of get things going by adding some aggression and raising the tempos sort of to pull up the slacks where Blaze wasn't doing all right. And in the book I mentioned by Lawrence Patterson, he said that Nico got to hear a live recording from one of his so-called off nights, a night where he didn't really perform that well, and that Nico was sort of uh, really disturbed by the way it sounded to the audience, and so he had a talk with Steve, and according to rumors that I heard back then at the time in '99 was that also Janikers were very vocal about that this is not working out. We have to do something else. And remember, there wasn't like we are getting rid of Blaze to get Bruce in, because Bruce, it wasn't like Bruce was already waiting in the wings and just waited for them to sack Blaze to get him in. But they sort of realized that we have to get rid of Blaze because his uh, vocals isn't cutting it, not live at least. So he was called to a meeting in January of '99, and he says in this book that he had a feeling that there was something weird going on. And he had sensed that when they played the last few dates on the South American tour of '98 in December, that there was one night they didn't even do encores, which is very, very rare for our Maiden. But the just the spirits and the vibe of the band was really, really low. So maybe he sort of sensed that there was something going on, even by before he was told so. Um, and the announcement that Bruce and Adrian were to come back was made in February of '99, and he was let go, like I said, in the the, the earlier parts of January of '99. Um, we've talked a lot about the shortcomings and the limitations of Blaze Bayley as a vocalist and everything, but yeah, not much use. But I think it is kind of interesting though to note that even though Steve is always flying the flag for the Blaze era, and I mean Steve is a very very loyal type of person, that he is still very loyal to Blaze, and I think Blaze is still very loyal to Steve too. Uh, and he always talks very fondly about his time and how much he learned performing with Iron Maiden and working with Steve
Yeah.
Harris primarily. But it's that has to be said. In this book, I think there is it 350 pages,
Yeah.
and the chapter about Blaze is 12. So 12 pages out of this big book, thick book. 12 pages is the what two albums and the Blaze so-called Blaze era of the band gets in their official sort of 50th anniversary book here. And I think that says something. Uh, and it doesn't say anything flattering, unfortunately. Of course, it was a downtown for metal in general and so on and so forth. But I mean, 12 out of 350 pages.
I don't really know any, I can't really comment on, and you pretty much said it all about why Blaze probably left. To me, money, tickets and album sales.
Hmm.
If they were selling millions of records, do you think they would have cared that Blaze was having trouble singing live? Do you think if they were selling more tickets than they had ever sold in their life, that they would have cared that Blaze was struggling on some songs? They would have kept going. It was attendance was down, at least in the States. I didn't look to see what their dates were, what kind of places they were playing in the US, but to me, I'm sure that's what was really the writing on the wall. The critics
Yeah.
were slamming them, the ticket sales are down, the album sales are down. Just everything is not going in the right, nothing's going in the right direction. Money uh, fixes a lot of things, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And when they sit and go, Bruce, Adrian comes back, automatically probably adds a third more ticket sales.
Hmm.
Record companies kicking our door down, throwing bags of money at us to have Bruce and Adrian come back.
Hmm.
We want to believe that it's all about artistic things and stuff like that, but sometimes it does come down to, money and making things work like that. And it was a weird era for metal. Some ways I feel bad. It's the same story as with Ripper. Judas Priest, same thing. Two records came out in the
Hmm.
90s, early 2000s, bad timing. So Blaze deserved better, I believe, on a lot of fronts. And you're right, Blaze always comes across as a lovable bloke, uh, very grateful. He's still out there rocking it. He's put out a lot of solo albums that are really good. So if you haven't heard any of those, you should check those out. But it brings the close to a chapter and opens up a whole nother era of Iron Maiden, which we'll be
Hmm.
getting to on the next episode.
Yeah, we will. We will.
All right, well, make sure you head over to Lair the Alchemist so you can see all these great visuals that Matthias has throughout the episode.
Yeah,
Uh, I have two other podcasts, Into the Void, a Black Sabbath podcast I do with my buddy Darren, and Kicked in the Teeth, an AC/DC podcast that I do with author Martin Popoff, all available on all the streaming networks. Matthias has a band, Dead Kosmonaut. I'm pretty certain that if you like Iron Maiden, you will like Dead Kosmonaut. So make sure you check them out. They're on all the streaming services and they've got a Facebook page. And if you Google the name, all kinds of stuff will come up for you. And Matthias also has a YouTube channel, Maiden Stockholm, where him and his Iron Maiden fan and friend Henrik go around Stockholm showing you all the places that Iron Maiden played. You can go and see where they played on the Virtual 11 tour. I think you
yeah.
made a mention of it in there. Yeah, they have video of it, so make sure you check that out. All right, till we see you at the next time, the beginning of a new chapter, a return of some familiar faces. So till we see you then, we'll see you out there somewhere in time.